let's look at some of the things that we've been talking about and say we're having the same conversation in 5 years. What do you think will be different than today? And how can the momentum that started over these last several years be maintained? Betanya, maybe we'll start with you with that one.
Sure. Again, I think we've seen tremendous progress since 2020. And it's clear the innovation of the D&I coordinator role has contributed to that progress. And my hope that it's a durable concept and continues to evolve, becoming a part of the fabric of D&I or syndicate discussions, and the Verizons and other corporates that have really embraced this role. We continue to see kind of broad utilization across the market. And ultimately, again, just assisting issuers successfully executing on their D&I strategy and supporting their D&I partners.
Great. Keenan, any thoughts from you?
Sure. I don't know about 5 years. I don't necessarily have a timeline per se, but I guess how I would know progress is occurring, I guess, is when we see these diversity firms in active roles on deals and don't look at them or don't look at it as any sort of exceptional or special situation that they're involved. To me, that would imply that these firms are competing at the same level for business as other firms, and that I think is what we basically want to move the ball down the field towards. I think over time, inevitably, we're going to have more data. These firms are going to have more at bats, and we're going to be able to sort of see over time whether or not this this vision of incremental liquidity actually is realized. And I think that would just sort of support the work that all of us are doing now. I think what would be helpful for us would be to sort of see a little bit about where they're having impact, have a better sense of what the allocations, where they're going on these deals. So we know ultimately if we're working with these firms, they're being included in these firms. Like I said before, that bonds are finding their way into the hands of new investors out there. I think that would sort of give us a little bit more confidence to know that things are heading in the right direction.
Great. Scott, as a NeuGroup member, I'm going to give you the final word here on what this is going to look like in 5 years.
Yeah, so maybe it's the last word on this panel, Joseph, but I do like to think that although tremendous progress has been made, there is more work to do, and I think a lot of the opportunities we've identified today. But as I think about 5 years from now, it would be nice to see many more issuers at sort of the 10% or above wallet share. It would be very nice to see 2% of allocation going to DEI firms just being a starting point, and a much higher allocation going forward, and hopefully earned, as Keenan mentioned, with the trading that these firms are doing and the liquidity that they're providing being additive to the market. I'd also like to see that in Betanya's role, they're not just looking for unique orders, that investors more broadly, because of the earned trust and counsel and liquidity that they're providing, they're garnering orders from the market more generally. And then a couple of last thoughts would be, we've talked a lot about metrics on this call, but it's almost proprietary. The data from Ramirez, the information we're sharing about allocations, Keenan's reference to liquidity and trading volumes, that it would be really nice to have much more market transparency in this area, because I think a lot of the data does exist. You're just not going to see it very often in pitch books. And so from an issuer perspective, I think we'd like to see that more broadly. And then lastly, I just hope that the focus and the improvement that we've seen will contribute to additional diversity on the street and in bond markets.